Under pressure.
Whoa, I felt the pressure on that one. Let me tell you. Never mind. I just got it in my head. Never mind.
Under pressure. What are we doing tonight, gentlemen? How are y'all tonight?
What's up?
What's going on around here?
Yeah, better than I should be.
Better than you should be. That's true.
Gracious.
Hey, we're sitting here talking about it. Could be worse.
Eugene's still loading.
Yep.
Still loading.
Yeah, Eugene is still loading. He's going to bring the energy tonight. And that's what I'm talking about.
Eugene always brings the energy.
Eugene bringing the energy. That's what I'm
As soon as
talking
we wake
about.
up. As soon as we wake up.
That's right. All right. Look, we got Josh on tonight. Thank you, Josh, for coming on. And we're going to talk about a big topic tonight, everyone. You ready for this?
Let's hear it.
Stop making excuses and man up. That's what we're going to talk about. Now, why did I want to talk about this so much? And I'm going to call it like I see it. I have seen a lot of men not manning up lately. It's just to the point. And we'll talk about it throughout the show.
Doc's already crying. You start talking to men about manning up without any excuses. Like, we're all crying. Where's my tissues?
Oh, yeah. Oh, look, we're talking about Doc already crying. So I got it in the background. I love it. Doc's already got tears in his. That's what I'm talking about, Doc. Man up. But is it okay for a man to cry? Yeah, it's okay for a man to cry.
As long as no one sees you. Oh, wait, what? Never mind.
That ain't true.
Hey, Josh.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? Stop making excuses and man up.
Ooh, to me as a man, I think stop making excuses is, means to me just be. I think be everything. And I know that sounds like whatever, but I think a lot of men, you just alluded to some of it. Is it okay for a man to cry? Absolutely. I think if you don't cry, you don't let out emotions, you don't talk to somebody, and we can go into all this stuff, I'm sure. You can stuff that stuff. You can stuff it all down. That's not a piece of manning up, because what happens when you stuff it all down, we've heard it before, is you just throw up all over somebody that didn't make you sick. And I think that manning up for me means taking responsibility as a dad, as a husband, as a fiance, as a boyfriend, as a son, and taking the responsibility. If you're having a household, I think you take responsibility as the household. If it fails, it's on you. If it succeeds, it's not necessarily on you. You got to give credit where it's due. You can't play both sides of that. I think manning up to me is just being raw and being real and taking responsibility, whatever that is, financially, mentally, spiritually, whatever that is, what it means to me. And not a lot of people, but I know we're talking men tonight because we're all men here, but not a lot of men can take responsibilities. Me being one of them, I'm sure we've all given our spouse excuses or our kids excuses or anybody else excuses for those things. And you're like, man, I didn't mean to give an excuse. I was just trying to talk it out. But it's a freaking excuse, fellas.
Very nice.
Eugene, we talked about it, man. Life comes with ups and downs, right? And too many men, in my mind, play that victim mentality. World's against me, right? Like we said, it comes with ups and downs. You're going to get punched in the gut, punched in the nose, but you got to man up, right? And so what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Josh has talked a lot about some of the core issues or some of the reasons why either we don't man up or we do man up. But what it means to me is accepting your role as a man. I think men, it's a male-dominated society, and men are the physically stronger species. I think women are probably smarter than men.
You done did it now. Hey, I gotta go, fellas. I ain't sticking around for this mess.
You ain't wrong.
Right? Women are smart. And I think they bring a different skill set to the table. But as we dive into gender roles, how we've all been programmed to believe this is the role of a man versus the role of a woman, I think it's important that men embrace that role if they agree with how we've defined gender roles. And then they should man up. They should do what a man should do, provide security, provide protection, provide guidance, along with their significant others if they're female. And be there as a man, bring home the bacon along with your wife if she doesn't bring home more money than you do. Just do what a man should do to assist his family, guide his family, lead his family, and to assist his wife, because women need different things than what men do. And women, you need to give your spouse what she needs, what she expects out of you, what she expects out of a man. And I talk to my son, from time to time about being confident, how he walks, how he speaks, who he is, to help him develop into a man. And typically only men can teach men. But if men didn't get the kind of training that they needed growing up, then them finding themselves as one who can man up can be more difficult for them.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about here in a little bit, because we all have sons on here. So that is one of the things I really want to jump into lately, is who we are as role models to our young boys and to our daughters as well, because we all have daughters as well. Doc, you need to man up, dog. I mean, I'm just being honest with you.
Listen, I'm going to be honest. I'm scared for this answer right now.
Wow.
In a good way, Doc.
Way to put me up on that pedestal and wait for me to fall. So, this man up means so many things. It really does. Of course, we're a little bit older now, the three of us, excluding Josh, and we kind of came up in a different generation where man up meant a lot of things. Where it didn't matter if you were sick, it didn't matter if you didn't feel good or you were hurting. You manned up and you got the job done regardless. So we've moved. We were grown up with that thought process, and now it means it means that still, because that's what was ingrained in me, but so much more. I could piggyback off what you guys said, taking the responsibility, but the biggest thing, I wanted to share is that it's okay. It's okay to fail in things, because that's how you learn, right? It's okay to be wrong, right?
Ooh.
It's okay to be wrong. You don't always have to be right.
Yeah.
I've learned more from when I was wrong than when I was right.
True.
Well, to jump on that, let's talk about that, because that's exactly where I was going to go with it, Doc. We're seeing a little bit eye to eye. Is one of the things that I've noticed just a lot lately is what I said earlier, the victim mentality. I've watched a lot of men go through those failures and then they stay in that failure. The world is against them.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to get punched in the nose. You're not going to do everything right. And when you don't do everything right, the key thing is to get up and get moving in a more positive direction and not make the same mistakes over and over and over. And this victim mentality that some people live in this society that we live in, it's just not flying with me, because we don't have time to live in that victim mentality. True. If you live in that victim mentality, it's only going to affect you. It's going to affect your family. It's going to affect your wife, your kids, everybody around you.
Right.
So, Josh, we can't stay in that victim mentality. So, you ever been in a victim mentality?
Yeah, I think we all have. I think we'd be lying to you and to whoever that's listening if we didn't. And I think it's this. Listen, we all know that my presentation skills are not always the best. I just kind of come off the cuff and say it, but I think men are able to sit in the victim mentality because, just like what Doc said, we were raised to be the man. No emotion, no, like just dust yourself off and keep going. So I think it's easy for men to stay in that victim mentality. We're like, I'm going to get kicked around tomorrow anyway, so I'll just stay here. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to have that thought process. You just can't stay there. And I think that goes back to taking responsibility for the things that you do. If you made a bad decision, I think a lot of men will make the decision or the bad decision or whatever, they get called out on it, right? Whether it's at work, whether it's a spouse, whether it's kids, whether it's whoever. And then it's like, then we just kind of shut it down and we're like, oh my gosh, I'm always doing something wrong. I'm always doing it. No, bro, you made the decision. You made the wrong decision. Own that decision, fix it, pivot, and change. But I think we all do that. And we could do it with finance decisions. We could do it with relationships. We could do it with things that we say or how we say it. It's the tough part is it's easy to do.
Let's not forget about the other half of that, though, because this is important to talk about. Yeah, we get stuck in the victim mentality sometimes, but that evil friend of ours, that ego, that plays a huge part too, because we don't want to admit to our friends that we were wrong, or we don't want to look stupid for being wrong, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So that plays a huge, it's a huge part.
Huge.
Believe me.
It's a huge problem.
It's almost as big as my lawsuit.
Right. But I think you're right. I think the ego kind of takes over, and it's that it's like, right, if we made a wrong decision, it's like, oh, I'm weak. I'm not supposed to do that. I have to stand up for whatever. But it's just about taking that responsibility. And you said it. You can't succeed until you fail, right? You have to fail over and over and over and over again. And as long as you pivot and change and understand what you did wrong and how you can do it the next time better, then there's change. There's succession there. There's succeeding there.
Yeah.
Eugene?
Yeah, I would just say to piggyback on that, I one of my mantras that I heard, I think from Brian Tracy or somebody, one of the motivational speakers, he talks about failing faster and failing more often. And the quicker you do that, especially if you're one who will take the failure and learn from it, the quicker you'll succeed. The people who are successful in life, usually very, very successful, they've learned to fail faster. They just kind of get by, they keep going, and they get up and they keep moving forward. I think most people, most people, they don't self-manage. So when they're in the failure, they don't cope well. They don't have good coping skills. And it's a learned thing that people have to get through it. And there's so much noise in the world, from social media, the news, the family, friends, job, all of it, it can consume you. I think people need to turn some of that noise off, take a look in the mirror, man up, figure out why they think the way they think, who are they truly, what has influenced them, whether it's something they watched on television, something they read, how they were brought up, whatever that is, figure it out, man up, and then move forward. So it's really important for people to self-evaluate and move forward.
Self-evaluate and move forward. It's a constant process. You're right. It is a constant process that you have to be going through and learning through. I've told y'all this, and many of y'all have heard this. One of my favorite speeches that I've ever heard. If you haven't seen it, go look on YouTube. But it's Denzel Washington at the graduation. And he's talking about falling forward instead of falling backwards. And one of my things that I think that we struggle with here in America and everywhere is that we're living in trauma land right now. We're living in our past. Yeah. And we're living in those failures. And maybe that's what's got me on this and got me really thinking about it, because, I have a group of, I work with people all the time, and I have a group of men that I'm working with, and they're all living in this trauma, and they're the victim. And it's maybe I'm sitting here looking at it and I'm going, okay, I get it, but the world's not against you, and you have the ability to make your own decisions and to move forward and to make things happen. Yeah. You can quit on yourself anytime. Yeah. But it's the quit in us that's really got me right now, and the living in our trauma that's really got me right now. Move forward. Find those coping skills, Eugene, like you were saying. Find the coping skills and make it happen.
You just said move forward. I thought you were going to say boo and who.
Boo-hoo.
It would have
in the boohoo land.
It would have fit right there too, just like move forward. I'm like, is he getting ready to say boo effing who?
Yeah. I mean, Kate says, is life happening to me or for me? Right?
True.
That's it. Boo-hoo.
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 And I think before Eugene, before all that, you live back
Look at
there.
Doc's crying again.
You live in that trauma. Get his tissue. He's got to. But like you live there, and you go and just replay all of those failures as opposed to what's brought you to where you are. You're not there anymore. Like, everybody lives in that past of like, hey, I used to drink, I used to smoke, I used to show up to work, whatever that is. Like, hey, I don't identify as that stuff anymore. I've moved past all of those things. But a lot of people sit there and they're like, oh yeah, I used to do that. I bet I could. And then it just compounds. Like it could be all of these things. And it's sitting right here of going, man, I just failed. I got fired, or I lost a relationship or a phone, like whatever it is. And then all of a sudden everything else gets played back. And all of a sudden you're in this, we talk about it, Matt, too. Like you get to rock bottom, you're down here in this abyss all of a sudden. And you're like, holy crap, why am I thinking about something I did when I was 12 or 22 or 25? I'm never getting out of here. Then that victim mentality takes over and you're done at that point.
Yeah, done.
Yeah,
Doc?
I was just going to go ahead. Is Doc there?
Yes,
I mean, he was in tears a minute ago. I needed him to
Stop
talk.
crying, Doc.
I want to talk your way out of it and man up.
Men don't
suck it
cry.
up here.
Stop crying, man. Suck it up. I was going to say to what Josh was talking about as well, and that is, not living in the past. Like a couple of days, yesterday, actually, my mother died so many years ago. I don't know. It's been 21 years. I don't. There's no emotion over that date. I know, Matt, you struggled a little bit with your friend. I don't even, and it's not throwing Matt. I don't even. What I do, I live chapter by chapter. If you think of your years on this earth as a chapters in a book, that was a long time ago. Stop wallowing in the past, because if you wallow in the past, certainly you can recognize a particular date, but don't stay there. Let it go. That was chapter 12. You're on chapter 37. You have got to move forward.
Your chapter's farther than that.
Yeah.
You've got to move forward, because if you don't, it's just going to slow you down. It's amazing. I sometimes I feel like there's no compassion in my soul.
But I want to, while you're there on that point though, Eugene, is it because you've healed from that, right? Your mom, that's a traumatic thing. I think losing a parent, losing a friend, all that's losing somebody close to you is traumatic. Is it because you've healed from that and you're like, hey, this is what it is? And you've been on my podcast and Matt's podcast and this podcast. Like your thought process is different than a lot of folks. Not that it's wrong at all, but is it because you've healed from that and you're able to move forward and go, hey, this happened, but I'm not going to go back there a year, 20 years, 50 years, whatever. And a lot of people, we've probably all four been there. Like we haven't healed from that, whether it's a job loss or breakup or a death or whatever that is. Is it that we haven't healed from that to move forward in the mentality you're talking about? Or is it that victim thing that we're victim mentality?
Yeah, I think it goes.
I'll take sociopath for 100, Alex.
Yeah, right. Right, could be right. I go back to, again, it's self-mismanagement. You people put themselves in these places that they can't break free from because they have chosen, or they don't know how to break free from where whatever happened a bazillion years ago. That is in the past. The past is behind you. Yeah. Let it go. You cannot gain. In the Bible, it says, how is it going to benefit you at all worrying about something that either was in the past or you can't control it? It's not going to add one more day to your life. No. And one of the things in here, it would say, consider the lilies in the field. They don't sweat, they don't toil, but the Lord takes care of them. How much more will he take care of you? People drive me crazy with this hanging on to stuff a million years ago. It's not that I haven't, it's not so much that I've healed from it. It's that it's just not relevant anymore.
Gotcha.
We're born to live, to die. We're in a book, and there are chapters. If I live 90 years, there are 90 chapters. Put it to rest. Stop. It kills me. It slows you down.
Man up.
You know
up.
But here's the thing, though. I think, and I don't know whether, and we could go another way with it. I want to look like we do that to ourselves, right? Like we're thinking past there. What if it's being done for us? Like, what if someone in our life, like let's say a child, a parent, or whatever, is like, well, when you were, does that change the thought process for you, Eugene? Like, what if I said to you, Eugene, like, what if we grew up together, Eugene? Right? I was in the military with you. We grew up together. We were boys. We got into trouble. We didn't get into trouble. We went to church together. Like, whatever it was. And I was around you, and I'm like, Eugene, you remember that time when you took my $25? Or you remember this, Eugene? And I brought it up over and over and over again. And you're like, bruh, like, how much you want now? I got money. Like, I want interest, Eugene. But, like, is it better or worse for somebody in the thought process if someone else is doing it? Or is it worse that we do it to ourselves?
Well, you got to take control of that. Like, look, man, that stuff was a million years ago. Do you want $25 with interest? Because don't bring it up to me again, because I'm manning up to your face. Yeah. Don't bring that stupid that topic up to me. Right. That is your thing. Yep. Don't bring it to my face again. Yeah. And you've got to let people know that.
Exactly.
Because if you don't, and you just keep wallowing in the nonsense, and you're consciously literally making a choice to listen to this person keep bringing that crap up to you. I don't care if it's your mother, your father, your brother, whoever it is. I'm not listening to that anymore, and be done with it.
Yeah. That means you just slip right back down into victim mentality.
Right.
Right.
Let me tell you, since I've retired, I've become pretty damn lazy, and I'm okay with that. But with being lazy,
well, we could say that what you said earlier in the chat over your private chat, you said you don't really give a shit.
Yeah, no, I used to give a shit when you were talking about the usage. I used to smoke. I used to I used to give a shit. But no, so with being lazy, it takes too much damn energy to worry about things that happened in the past that you can't control.
True.
Yeah. It does. It does. Let's bring in the kid conversation. And the reason why is because we all have boys and we have girls and all that. But look, here's the deal. I get asked this, right? All right. So I'm very proud of my kids. They're all doing pretty well. But people have asked me, well, what kind of advice do you have on parenting? And my advice on parenting is to be open and honest with your kids and don't hide anything from them. My kids know my ups and my downs, my failures, and it is on the line. Because you know why? I don't want to see them make the same mistakes I made, right? Well, I didn't mean to make some of the mistakes that I've made in the past, and that's part of my mistakes are what give me my drive. And I want to help my kids be successful, and so I'm open and honest. I talk to them, let them know.
Well, I think that's the other thing too, and we said it with the ego thing for us as men and people in general. But since we're talking men, the ego is like, hey, I'm open, I'm honest. This is what I'm doing. If I fail, I fail. But the ego is like, oh man, that's the ego pushes us in a positive direction on that one, especially when you don't want to see you don't want to fail in general, but you don't want your kids to see you fail either.
Let me say something real quick, Josh, and then you can keep going. Here's the deal. And I teach this when I speak out in conferences because my main topic is decision-making, how we make decisions. And one of the things that I teach in the class is I'll say there's no such thing as a bad decision. And people look at me like, well, yeah, they're bad decisions. And the point is, no, if you knew it was a bad decision, you're not going to set out and make that bad decision. You didn't mean for that to turn out the way it turned out. And that's part of the learn from your mistakes. That's part of, don't make the same mistakes over and over. And that's your damn fault if you make the same mistakes over and over. True. But you got to go out and you got to set a positive tone and you got to work pretty hard at life. That's really what it is.
Yeah. That's good.
You know what I used to do when I was competing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo a lot? I would bring
Look at all those
kids.
medals behind them right there. By the way, I just want to throw a shout out to Doc.
Hoorah.
I bought those. But anyway, I bring them with me to all the matches. And you know what? You win some, you lose some. But I felt it was important that they saw that I lost. Not only that I lost, how I handled that loss.
Yeah, for sure. I had this conversation with my physical therapist the other day because everybody knows I got a broke hip. But she was with her niece, and I ran into this with my kids. I don't know if y'all have or not. You can say it, but she was with her niece over the weekend and playing games and doing everything they were doing. You know, if her niece lost, she lost it, right? Crying and all that. And I remember early on with Braden, you know, if we were playing basketball, we were playing soccer, or if I struck him out in baseball and he would lose his mind, how important it was, just to your point, Doc, how important it was that you spanked their butt every once in a while and put them in their place.
Well, you got to bring them down.
You have to, because that's life.
Yeah.
Well, because here's the thing. I don't know if Eugene and Doc played sports, but Matt, you and I are athletes since little. Like, you get to a certain age where my son's at right now. I swear if I said, who's better at basketball, you or LeBron, I swear my almost 14-year-old son would say LeBron. Now, I'm not a LeBron fan, so I should have compared him to somebody else. He's a baby, but, you know, don't come for me, whoever you're coming for. But they're at an age right now where they're like, I'm taking on the world. It gets me so frustrated, as I'm sure it does for you, Matt, when they were coming up. But then you're like, was I like that? And then I make that dreaded phone call, like through my phone, like to contact, starts with D and DAD. And I'm like,
yeah.
Hey,
that was none of that.
Did I do this when I was? My dad's like, you did it worse. So what you're saying on lose with grace, win with grace, don't be a sore loser, don't be in your face.
That's a life lesson.
That's a life lesson. That's just not sports. That's life. And I think going back to the manning up, it's the same thing with us. Like, listen, who's ever watching here and who's ever watching my TikTok, that relationship wise, I'm in it. Look, she's done called me out. I've lost many a times, made some stupid mistakes, and probably had a victim mentality like, oh, she's so mean, or she yelled at me. I deserved it. I'll tell you that now as a man up. She'll tell you I deserved it. But if you sit there with your spouse or with your kids or whoever when you make a mistake, that's not manning up. You can go down that victim mentality. Then you're a sore freaking loser as an adult. Stop being a baby. Take it. I'm not the best at that. I'm admitting to Matt. I told you I was going to go all in tonight. You want to be on here? I'm getting it. I'm not the best at that, especially in relationships. We all know I'm engaged. Today's my 1-year anniversary with my lovely shout out to the Savage Mom Life. Like, that's the thing. 1-year anniversary. I've effed up with
you
things.
You tried to throw it out the window a couple of times, bro.
Right. Throw it out the window. She don't want to do it. I said this. I did that. We did this. Like, I'll admit that. But somebody said in the chat earlier, own the mistakes. I haven't always been good at that either. So it's like, no, I didn't say that. And I'm working on that, right? Like failing. Like, I didn't say that. And, you know, her mouth's a little different than mine. So you did say that is what she'd say. I'm like, I didn't say it. Like, here's the thing.
Does she get quiet for real?
No, she doesn't get quiet. I just don't say those words that she says back to me at times when she's angry with me.
Hey, man up and say it, would you?
Man up and say it.
You got to say it, baby. Man up and say it.
But it's that whole thing of like, I can sit there. I've had it with my kids. I've had it with friends. I've had it with all those things too. But it's like, you can sit there and say, no, I didn't say that. I did say that. It didn't mean to come out that way. But owning, this is what I said, but hey, this is not what I meant. I don't like, that's the biggest thing I've learned in this relationship that's different for me. And Matt and I have had the conversation. Eugene and I have had the conversation of, man, this is tough. Independent, Aries, redhead, long distance, single, like all of those things.
Now I know why I get along with her. I'm Aries too, you know.
You're an Aries too. That's the problem. Everybody loves, like, you know, no, they don't. Like, live that sucker. But we do it a lot to ourselves as men because we don't man up, stop making excuses, relationships, work, jobs, all those things. We've got to own that.
Well, women want us to be men.
Yeah.
They want us to be men.
They do.
Yeah.
They really do. They want us to lead. They want us to man up. They want us to lead the household. They want to, I mean, that's our job. That's what we're supposed to do.
True.
You know?
Let's not turn this into a He-Man woman haters club kind of thing. All right.
No. But I think you're right, Matt, in that it's like, Look, we're in 2024. There are women that make a ton more money than their spouse.
Sure.
That have, up the corporate ladder, higher up. That's just the way it is. And it's been like that for some time.
But
no woman hating, no man hating. They still
But it's not about the money.
It's
not about the money. It's not about the money. If your
all.
wife makes more money than you, that's part of it. It's okay. It's totally fine. It's about being a man, putting that emotional support in there like you're supposed to as a man, being that rock, being the person who leads the family. It's just, we're different creatures.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times I've said I'd kill to be a dependent husband, walk around the PX all day?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Listen,
Oh, we'll put this one on Eugene. How about we put this on Eugene?
Yeah, let's put it on Eugene.
Yeah, from Amy. What does it mean to be a man? There we go. This everybody sit back. We're about to go to church.
I'm not allowed to answer this one.
Yeah, I think it's just a special opportunity to be a man. I really do. My father wasn't there because my mother and father were divorced, and so there were things that I missed as a young man, training that I missed, and it took some time for you to round out into yourself into a man, and sometimes you need the help of a woman to help you be more of a man. If your spouse or somebody is calling you out, they're forcing you into developing into more of a man. And so, being a man it's a good gig. You're, for the most part, at least in my household, you're a head of household. I've told my wife a long time ago that, so we're clear, I own 51% of the stock and you own 49. And she knows I am dead serious. The kids will be like, well, why can't mommy just go and get another dog? She doesn't have that option. Right?
Voted her down.
So I know there are women listening.
This is not where I thought this answer was going to go.
I'm just telling you. There is a role that a man plays.
True.
And I talked about it earlier. It is to provide everything that your wife expects from you and what your children expect from you and what that role as a man encompasses. And it is incumbent upon you to fulfill that role. And if you don't know how, someone will teach you, whether it's your peers, guys on a conversation like this, your spouse will teach you. Somebody's going to teach you how to man up more than what you currently are. And some of it's just life skills. If you're wrong, sometimes people, for whatever the reason is, they have a hard time admitting that they are wrong.
Yeah.
Just to say that they're sorry, and as a man, you should be, and I teach my kids, look someone in the eye when you're wrong and say, hey, I'm sorry, that was my fault. I apologize. And mean it when you say it, and look at them when you say it.
Yeah.
And mean it.
And if you failed your spouse or your family, hey, daddy didn't get it done. And here are the reasons why. Don't make a bunch of excuses. This is the reason why.
Yeah.
And if there aren't any excuses,
for men to do.
Oh, it's very hard. Shouldn't be.
I mean, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. But I think it's been hard. Maybe except for Eugene, it's been hard for all of us. But it's because I think that, and I may say this, and I may get women in the chat on TikTok everywhere saying, men take more shit than women do.
Absolutely.
You agree with that?
In what way?
Yeah. Well,
I think that not saying that women don't do it. I think that comes with the job of being a man. Of, like you just said, hey, I'm sorry, I failed you, I did whatever. Now, in our mind, we're going to know, hey, ultimately, yes, but I think it's situational too. Ultimately, we are sitting there going, hey, I'm the leader of the household, whatever. We may have had 50% of that decision, not saying it was the spouse, whatever it is, job, whatever. But I think that's part of being a man, of going, you know what? I'm not at fault in this situation. I don't want to cause an argument. I want to just own it and let's move on and we'll figure it out later. I think that comes with being a man. Do I think to get trampled on and get run over? No. But I think a lot of being a man is to keep the peace, household, kids, spouse. I think a lot of that stuff's too.
Brenda nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah, Brenda nailed it. Protect, provide, preserve, and
Nope,
love.
not that one.
Not that
I
one,
think
but
women
I
have
think that
not
one's important
created a
too.
safe space for men to be wrong. Brenda,
Correct.
Yeah.
wow, wow. And
But hold on, let's
Yeah,
stay
go.
on that topic because Doc and I and Doc, I'll let you jump on this too because we were talking about this exact topic beforehand a little bit, right? And to your point, Josh, a lot of times early on in my marriage, I would take it and take it and take it, and then I finally learned, okay, stand your ground because that's what needs to happen is you stand
True.
your ground, and if you're taking it and taking it and taking it, that's not what you should be doing
No.
just to keep the peace. And I used to be a peacekeeper. I didn't like to argue. I didn't want the arguments coming in. So I would just take the beating. I'd be like, fighting, being in the corner with Tyson beating up on me, and that's wrong. And once and I think all marriages go through this, in most cases that I've seen, all marriages go if you're are in relationship. If you don't believe that, you're lying. If you just say it's not, every marriage is perfect, no, you're lying. Everything goes a little up and down. But when me and my wife hit our stride is when I really learned to stand my ground as a man, point blank, and not try to be such the peacekeeper and avoid the arguments. If I was right, I was right. If I was wrong, I would admit I was wrong, to Eugene's point.
Yeah, but Matt,
That's part of the manning up is
Matt,
knowing when you're right, when you're wrong, and standing your ground.
why do you think you approached it that way? Is it something from your childhood? Why? Because like my wife's non-confrontational, and you approached it as a non-confrontational person. Like, why did you approach it that way?
I think a lot of it has to do with just our personalities, who we are, right? Me and my wife, we're both type A personalities, but I'm a laid back, very passive personality. My glass it's never even half full. My glass is always full. So I don't care if something goes wrong. Tomorrow's a damn new day and we're going to move past it. And no matter what's going on, it's no big deal. We got it.
Right.
Where she's more of, she's more in your face, more the, she's going to let me know. And that's not my personality. So I think we had to learn. Okay. So in one of my degree classes in my degree, there's a book and it talks about marriage and communication, or not just marriage, relationships and communication being like the two-step tango, right? If you watch two people do the two-step tango and they're really good at it, it's a very beautiful dance.
Mhm.
When that two-step tango gets out of sync, it's an ugly dance.
Yeah.
And then the book goes into, you have to learn how to fight fair. Okay. Not to throw my wife under the bus, but she didn't fight fair, right? She didn't fight fair. Right. And I would just take it, and a lot I don't, y'all could lie if you want to, but there's a lot of not fighting fair that goes on in relationships.
True story.
And we take it. We take it because we just want to be non-confrontational. And my girls were laughing this weekend because me and my wife got into but this is me and my wife's arguments now. It's something fires off, whatever fires it off. We're cleaning up the house and something fired it off. And literally that conversation lasted about a 3-minute skirmish, 3-minute altercation. And 10 minutes later, it was like it never happened. We don't fight anymore. We just don't. And if we do fight, we say what we need to say and we move on.
Right.
So I think it's a lot of that. You got to learn how to fight. And early on or whatever, people don't know how to fight. And
I think I'm
ugly. Go ahead.
I'm probably take a lot of crap for this, but what else is new, right? I think, and I'm going to say from my case at least, most men don't want to hurt our wives' feelings.
Correct.
Quite the opposite with the ladies. That vitriol comes flying out at a high rate of speed, man.
True.
Yeah, but you're right. That was me. I was Eugene. I was a peacekeeper. I didn't want to hurt my wife's feeling.
Yeah.
And I wasn't standing my ground. So
Well,
I had to learn when I was young. I was young,
But she appreciates you more now because she does not want to run over you. She wants her man to be like, look here.
Exactly.
Here's how
Listen, Linda.
We literally don't fight. We don't fight anymore. Well, we used to go at it,
But I think you said it right, Matt. Like fighting fair, and that has to be on both ends of the spectrum. Whether it's married, fiance, boyfriend, girlfriend, children, coworkers, it has to be able to fight fair. Because once you start, and maybe it's just me. I'll call myself out. If you're going to throw something at me, if you're going to throw a stone at me, I'm going to find a bigger one to throw at you. And then it just gets bigger and bigger.
So that's not fighting fair.
You want to cut me? I'm going to cut you lower. I don't like that about myself. But what I have learned in the last year of my relationship and what my fiance needs and what my daughter needs, I know we'll go into parenting too, what my sister, my mother, women in general need is to come at with a gentle approach, because she'll flat out tell me, Heather will tell me, she's like, you can come to me about anything on the planet as long as you come at me gentle. I'm not Matt. I'm not Eugene. I'm not so. Come at me gentle. Sure. And then I think the victim mentality comes in is like, well, you ain't coming at me gentle. I'm not bro. I don't need you to come at me gentle. Maybe sometimes, but I think that's where men fall off the rails. And I have learned that. Shoot, I learned it last week or 2 weeks ago. I think I learned it every.
Well, we're not talking about a double standard, right? You have to set it.
You can't
have a double standard here,
right?
Yeah. Here's the other thing I would say, and I don't want to forget the thought is, you could be married a long time, and unless you know you, like what makes you tick, how you respond to stuff, like who the hell are you?
Right.
And then you've got to be smart with, again, understanding you, but really understanding your spouse or your significant other. Who is this person? How does she respond to if I say things in a particular manner or a particular way? Understanding her so you can best serve her as her man. Right. Because she wants her man to be blank. But you have to understand who this person is. And I think people, there's so much noise. They never take time to understand self and really understand who is this person. I don't care if you've been married to him 10 years, still really may not know them because you keep missing it.
I've said it 1,000 times. If you haven't read the 5 love languages, you better read it, and you better know who your thing is.
You better read it a couple times.
You better read it a couple times. And it's a 50-50 thing. 51-49, let's be honest.
51-49 if you're in your Gene's household. It's
51-49. Yeah. But the point is you have to know who your spouse is and your kids. But you have to know their person. I got a thing from my wife today that said, thank you for doing all the things you're doing. She's acts of service, right? As long as I'm there and I'm helping her, we're in good shape. If I'm not helping her, then,
she's not fighting fair.
She's not fighting fair.
Hey, let me say something about that 51-49. I think at the end of the day,
I'm glad you're bringing this back up because I think you got screwed, pal.
Now, listen, the end of the day, whatever happens in your marriage and in this journey called life, you're going to have to live with the decisions. And as a man, I will take on that responsibility. At the end of the day, if push comes to shove, I'm going to get my wife's input and I'm going to value everything that she tells me. But at the end of it, usually we'll say, if we don't agree, we won't move forward. But if we have to move forward,
you're making that
call. Believe me, I will be saying this. Hey,
that's right.
This is what we're doing.
Yeah, work together.
And I will live with it for all of you guys.
Yeah, work together.
If it's the wrong decision, we got to own that.
I will live
with
it.
If it's the right decision, like, hey, I did this for us. I made it. I'm glad. And there's just
See, and an example of that is, and I love my wife to death. She was like, hey, let's take the money and pay off bills. When I started making money in stocks, had I done that in that moment, we wouldn't be in $1 million home, right? I'm like, no, because this is the right decision for the moment. And let me explain to you why. And so, communicating, which is the number one reason usually marriages fail, because they fail to communicate. It's money, and it's usually intimacy. Yeah. They fail to communicate. They don't understand each other. They're talking over each other.
Say those 3 again, please.
Yeah.
Those 3, the number one thing is they just can't communicate, right? And they don't spend enough time on it. And it's difficult for people to communicate, right? It's because they don't even understand self. And all of the things that happen to my wife or your spouse or your girlfriend or whatever happened to them, what bleeds on them. And then when they come into that relationship, trying to figure out how do we come like this and move forward. And people struggle with that. They They struggle because they don't get to self first.
I want to say this real quick. We all, and this is a true fact. And again, Doc and I talked about this a little earlier. You can't go into a relationship and think that you're going to change your person's personality. You are not going to change that person's personality. I don't care how hard you try. I don't care what you do. That personality, and I think that was a key thing for me and my wife, to respect each other's personalities. That's why I fell in love with her. She fell in love with me. You have to respect who each other are. And when you learn to respect each other who each other is, and you learn to communicate, right? Then you can make it through anything. Yeah. But if you don't respect that person, who they are, and you keep trying to change them, people don't change. Sorry. It's not happening.
Yeah. And I know I'm dominating this thing here because I'm a man, but here's how this goes.
You get it fired up.
Fired
up. Well, it's my turn to talk, Eugene.
Shut your mouth, boy.
You best have said Leroy.
Right. As a man, it is incredibly important to cherish and value your spouse and what they want and what they are saying, because when she knows her opinion and who she is held in high esteem and valued very highly as far as what they say and what they think and what they want, and they know that, hey, at the end of it, you're gonna really listen to them. That is important. That's what women want from men. Hey, I know he is listening to me. One of the things my wife used to tell me, she said, the reason why I loved you so much is because you listened to me.
Absolutely. That's a hardest thing.
I'm not even a great listener, but I'm a decent
listener. Amy and I had that conversation the other day. We were talking about it. I think Amy and I, out of a lot of people, it's listening. Go ahead, Josh and Doc. Me and Eugene have been talking the last 10 minutes.
Doc, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
Well, I think you guys said it too, and I know what you were saying. So, listening is one thing. Hearing, is another. So you can listen all day, and I know you guys are like really listen, like hear. But I think a lot of us as men, we listen because we want to respond. I'll throw myself underneath the bus. I don't, and I see my son doing it too. Like, if he's saying something, I'm like answering the question before he's done. I probably do it with the three of you guys too. I do it with Heather. I've done it with I do it just in general. It's because we're listening to respond. We're not hearing to understand, which is something
make sure you flip that, Josh. You're hearing you heard me, but are you listening?
Listening? Right. Yeah. So I think that's another part of failing. Like, hey, I'll answer a question and whoever it is, and they're like, no, that's actually not what I was saying. And I look like an idiot, right? Like, okay, well, hear me talk, listen, comprehend, take it, pause. One of the things, listen, if y'all don't have, I know the therapy session, I know this is man up, fellas, get yourself a therapist. I'm saying, get yourself a therapist, please. Man up and do that. What my therapist has told me is, Josh, you need to pause
and listen. Totally.
And listen, and then pause at the end before you respond.
Well, also learn, if you don't understand what she or your kids are saying, you could paraphrase it back to them. Hey, what I'm hearing you say is this. Is this what you're saying? Absolutely. Instead of vomiting at the mouth and turning it into a bigger argument.
Well, because it's what we want. Like, it's what we're trying. Like, we want. For me, it's like I'm trying to be conversational, but it's coming across as, controversial or argumentative or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, I'm just trying to conversate, but I'm not hearing it to. Okay, now I can respond.
One word. Yeah. It's all ego driven.
It is all ego driven. 100%. 100%.
It is.
100%.
So how about with your kids?
They got egos too, them little bastards. Oh, wait, what?
It's like their daddy. It's like their dad.
Well, you said it before, Matt. We all have sons. We all have daughters. I learned one thing from my dad when I first had my daughter and my son, and even before I had kids, is I knew and I saw it. he parented me and my brother differently than he parented my sister. Not that, she's the baby. So, if any of you are
Babies, I'm the baby. I mean, but I'm
yeah,
the most
you got
squared,
everything
I'm the
you
most
like
squared
that
away
she
in my
did too.
family. I mean, it is what it is.
But you just can't. It goes back to like speaking to, coming at somebody gentle and whatever. I can't say the same things to my daughter that I say to my son. I have to twerk the wording, twerk, tweak.
Twerking.
For the love of God, don't twerk the meaning.
Listen, I was in a twerking contest earlier today. I'm sorry, I won. I got twerked. Tweak. You got to tweak. You have to tweak the words, but you also have to tweak.
He went from twerking to tweaking. Hell, who knows? He might have been tweaking while he was twerking.
I was tweaking and twerking and whatever, like pivot, whatever.
And working.
But it was working. So, but with your kids, you have to teach them that as well. I'm trying to teach that with my son, the pause, because he's me. And it's like, bro, just let me get my thought out first, or just let me explain it to you. And as they get older, and you guys know, I'm kind of in the middle of Eugene's kids and Doc, I can't remember, but like you have to change with that. The tone, the verbiage, you have to change that as they grow, because we still want to be hip too. The lingo, be able to converse with them in a way that they understand, because the way our parents converse with us or our dads converse with us is not the way we can do that now.
Yeah, I think things are certainly different. If my dad had to get a point across, he certainly could talk to me, but he could also use the army belt if he had to. And,
yeah, exactly.
With our kids, I've made it a point, because I believe you can just simply talk to somebody and they'll figure it out. And I'll pridefully say that people always remark, your kids are so well behaved. And it's not because I had to beat them or anything. In fact, the only time anyone's ever got the belt was Jaden when he was younger. And that was just once their whole life. No one else has gotten hit with anything. Yeah. And it's just a conversation that I have with them. And sometimes I think they're just hearing me and it's one ear out the other, but I find that they are listening. And when we go about it in a certain way, my wife and I, it has yielded dividends with them. And they start to get it, and they know if I'm not happy, and this includes my wife, I will say, take a look at my face. And boy, and I'm smiling, right? But I promise you, if you don't do what I'm telling you,
you take your glasses off like that.
Hey, buddy, don't.
Hey, good cop, bad cop. There was one time Braden did something, and I'm always the good cop, right? Tisha will play more of the bad cop. But there are times when the role gets reversed, and when the role gets reversed, you better stand the hell by. Braden did something one time.
Oh, if Tisha's the bad cop?
No, if I'm the bad cop.
Oh, if you're the bad cop. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's right. Tisha's the bad cop.
Not to throw Braden under the bus, but there was one specific thing he did, and he came in, and man, he knew I was pissed, and I was right there in his face. And I just said, you better get out of my face right now. Get out of my face. And he walked up to his room. All it took is Tisha going up there and said, you really let him down. And that's all it took. When she said, you've really let him down, man, he was 17 or 18 at the time. He broke down on that one. Wow. I mean, that one punched him in the gut when it was, you really let your dad down. Yeah. Cause I was always good cop, All right. Amy says, how do we help sons man up when no male role model is in play?
I'll tell you what, I had the conversation today with my son on the way back from Ohio, because Heather asked him a question last night. We were talking, he's 14 and, girls and all that stuff. And she said, what's the best advice your dad has given you when it comes to girls? And he hauled around or whatever. Be kind, be gentle. And I don't know if he said listen or be not, 14, be nice, be whatever. So him and I had that conversation today. I was like, here's some other advice that I would give to you, because
man up.
Hey, communicate, conversate. Hey, this is what I want you to see. And we talked a long time today in the car about that, about how to talk to women, not just ones that you may be dating, but how you talk to your sister, how you talk to your mom, how you would talk to Heather, how you would talk to me, how you would talk to people like, and it was, I think, just conversating, but knowing your kid too. You guys said it too, knowing yourself and knowing your spouse. You got to know yourself and then know your child too. And that's one thing I think we've all failed at. And you're like, man, I should have done this. I should have done this differently. But I think just having the open line of communication and conversation and talking about it, being open and talking about it, just like you said, Matt, open, talking about it, let them feel like they can talk because you'd rather have them talk to you than somebody else.
And Amy, I'll say, I think a little bit of it is unfortunately, you have to play both roles in a way if the man's not there, and you have to just have the open and honest conversations with them of what you expect from a woman's standpoint, what you want from a man, and build that into your son, and tell him what is expected of him, and then try to find him, role models. And I don't necessarily mean go out and find a relationship so your son has a role model. I mean, find situations, whether it be teachers, whether that be, youth group, or whether that be, other positive sports or music or whatever they're into, you try to get them into some positive influences and let them see. But you have to unfortunately play a little bit of that and tell him what you expect as a woman, so he knows how he needs to treat a lady in the future and how to treat his kids and stuff like that. Again, we're talking about a huge problem in America. You can go look at the statistics. There is a huge problem in America with absentee dads, huge problem. And so as men, we have to step up, and we have to, find ways that I'm involved now with Legacy Minded Men. And the ultimate goal of that is to, provide those resources for people who don't have fathers and all that. So we'll kind of wrap up here. First and foremost, I'll say up in the upper left-hand corner, donate to Doc. He's a great guy. He does it out of the bottom of his heart. Thank you, Doc.
I was gonna say, you don't say kindness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't say heart either.
Don't
I
say
don't have
heart
one of them
in
either.
general.
He's got a dark heart, I mean, he's just a good guy. But yeah. But all right, we'll go around the horn, and we'll start with Eugene, and then we'll go to Doc, and then we'll close it out with Josh.
What am I saying?
Bye.
No, I would say
51%.
Preach, Eugene.
Yeah, as far as manning up, if you're a single mom or you're a man, just do the very, very best you can with the best intentions. Be honest with yourself, and really seek to know oneself, and just put in the time, put in the work, and you'll find it'll all work out. And just keep moving forward. Let dead dogs lie. Leave stuff in the past. Keep moving forward, because that's going to help you man up. So
I agree.
Glad to be here.
Doc.
I'll tell a quick little story.
All right.
Going back to teaching your kids the importance of winning and losing. When we got a air hockey table down in the basement, and I would just get there and I would destroy my son every time we played. And Connie would be like, well, why aren't you going to let him win? I said, he's not going to learn anything from that. So he would get frustrated. But then, we'd had troops over for Thanksgiving dinner. He whooped all of them. These 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, they just couldn't believe how this 8-year-old sitting there handing all of them their rear ends. So
that's it.
Taught them a lesson.
Yeah. Teach them a lesson. Don't be easy on them. You're not doing them any favors. Josh, it's your show, man.
Whew. I'll tell you, I'll go from my own perspective. Don't be afraid to fail. But when you fail, don't make the excuse. You have to pivot. You have to get better. Doesn't matter if it's a relationship with a spouse, your kids, whatever. I think too many of us, and I'm guilty of it too, too many of us try to push the blame somewhere else or make an excuse for why we said what we said, did what we did, or whatever that may be. And I think that owning the decision, own it. You said it, own it. You did it, own it. If it's the wrong decision, own that it was the wrong decision. I would just say that that's something that I've learned over the past, few months, couple of years, is you got to own it. You made the decision. You said it. You did it. You might as well own it. because somebody's going to start calling you out on it. And if you don't start owning it, don't start changing that, you're going to be left alone and miserable and falling into that victim mentality. You're not going to grow. We've got to grow as men, as you said. Huge problem in this country. We play the victim. We're not growing. Our kids need us. Our spouses need us. This country needs us. The world needs us. So
absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Brenda said, thank you guys for having this conversation. I agree with her. Thank you. This was a great conversation to have. We needed to have it. We need to talk about it more. We need to be men. Never let them win. Make them earn it. That's what Brenda said.
Hey, I got people over here on TikTok like, where can I see these 4 men consistently on freaking live on the podcast? I mean, this might be a good group.
This has been a good one. This has been a good one. And we got to call a spade, man. Look, we have to call it. We got to stand up. We got to man up.
It's funny they mentioned that because, we've got a new calendar coming out. So in between the shows, if you want to see us, $9.99. We'll talk about the details later.
That's it.
Very nice.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. This has been a great one. Hey, learn how to communicate, learn how to listen, and be there for your family. Be there for your woman. That's what we're supposed to do. Lead, man up, man up.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.